Alexander the Great gained renown as an iconic figure who subdued nearly the entire known world, overcoming vast armies and toppling ancient empires that had stood for thousands of years. Yet, the groundwork for his remarkable triumphs was laid by the ingenious and forward-thinking efforts of his father, Philip II of Macedon. A masterful tactician, Philip turned a disjointed, fringe population into a formidable regional force, setting the stage for Alexander's extraordinary achievements. The Macedonians were regarded by many fellow Greeks as uncivilized and ignorant, dwelling in a rugged, mountainous terrain plagued by internal strife and perpetually menaced by foreign raiders. Distant from the refined cultural hubs of Greece, they resided in dispersed hamlets under the rule of local leaders, lacking a unified strength or shared sense of identity. Nevertheless, their location was strategically vital, serving as a shield against the even wilder tribes to the north and west, such as the Illyrians, Thracians, and Paeonians. For generations, Macedonia endured fierce assaults from these groups, indirectly safeguarding the Greek city-states to the south, though this contribution was seldom acknowledged by those they protected. The tough existence in this challenging environment molded the Macedonians into a people of unmatched resilience and tenacity, traits that earned them a formidable reputation as fighters. Trained from youth to protect their homeland, they honed distinctive battle skills out of sheer necessity. Philip recognized this latent strength and sought to enhance it through sweeping military innovations. Drawing inspiration from his days as a political captive in Thebes, where he closely examined the groundbreaking strategies of the Theban commander Epaminondas, Philip introduced the renowned Macedonian phalanx. This formation featured troops wielding exceptionally long spears called sarissas, which allowed them to hold enemies at a distance while moving forward in a compact, unbreachable line. The success of this novel approach was demonstrated in a string of victories, swiftly establishing the Macedonian army as the dominant military power in Greece. While the Greeks were mired in ceaseless internal quarrels that drained the strength of their city-states through relentless conflicts, Philip II seized the opportunity to enlarge and solidify his realm. With shrewd diplomacy and keen political timing, he capitalized on these rifts, elevating his kingdom to the preeminent power in Greece. Upon taking the Macedonian throne, Philip employed calculated marriages as a key method to reinforce and broaden his authority. He wed Olympias, a striking princess from the nearby kingdom of Epirus, forging critical alliances. He also tied himself to prominent families in Thessaly and Illyria, among others, securing his borders and neutralizing possible foes. Through these unions, Philip widened his reach and ensured that his eventual son, Alexander, would inherit a robust, cohesive kingdom poised for global conquest. Macedonia's economy relied heavily on farming and herding, supported by rich soil that sustained thriving agriculture and widespread livestock rearing. However, the true prosperity that fueled its swift economic and military growth stemmed from the exploitation of plentiful local gold reserves, particularly near the towns of Philippi and Amphipolis. The gold mined from these deposits formed the economic backbone of the kingdom, enabling Philip to fund his military, boost commerce, and draw traders and artisans from various areas. Thanks to this mineral abundance, Macedonia rapidly evolved into a vibrant trade hub, further strengthening Philip's dominance and influence across the region. Athens was tardy in recognizing the full scope of the danger posed by Philip II and the rising might of Macedon. For years, the Athenians, absorbed in their own political squabbles and feuds with other Greek cities, dismissed Philip's progress in the north. But as key territories fell under Macedonian control one after another, it became evident that Philip's ascendancy endangered not just Athens' political independence, but that of all Greece. In this context, the Athenian speaker Demosthenes rose as the most eloquent and forceful opponent of Philip's expansion. In his passionate orations, dubbed Philippics, Demosthenes alerted Athens citizens to the perils embodied by what he called a ruthless and relentless tyrant, whose ambitions knew no bounds. To him, Philip posed not only a martial threat, but a dire risk to the democratic principles of the Athenian state, a man capable of crushing the liberty the Greeks had fought so hard to secure over centuries. The political movement spearheaded by Demosthenes and his supporters depicted Philip as a savage, a despotic ruler bent on not only conquering Athens militarily, but also extinguishing its democracy and subjecting the Greeks to Macedonian rule. Notices, leaflets, and public addresses condemned the alleged tyrannical aims of the Macedonian king, portraying him as a dire foe of Hellenic liberty. Though these efforts stirred some public sentiment, Athens was sluggish to respond decisively to the looming peril, hindered by internal indecision and the challenge of forging firm alliances with other Greek cities. Philip did not simply aim to subdue the Greek cities, despite the rapid expansion of his military and political sway. His vision was grander and more far-sighted: to unite the frequently divided Greek states under one command, not to oppress them outright, but to guide them in a collective war against their long-standing adversary, the Persian Empire. This endeavor to rally the Greeks against Persia rested on the ideological foundation of Panhellenism, a notion promoting the unification of Greek peoples to confront an external enemy, an idea earlier championed by the prominent Athenian thinker Isocrates. Philip viewed this concept as a chance to justify his rule and leadership, establishing a firm political footing for his upcoming campaigns by leveraging the Greek desire for vengeance against the Persians for the devastation wrought during the Persian Wars and the subjugation of Greek cities in Asia Minor as both moral and political grounds. Despite this, major Greek cities like Athens, Thebes, and particularly Sparta fiercely opposed this scheme. To them, Macedonian leadership did not signify a partnership of equals, but rather the forfeiture of their sovereignty by yielding to a kingdom long deemed uncouth. Sparta declined to participate in the Greek League proposed by Philip to orchestrate the campaign against Persia, staunchly asserting its independence and rejecting submission to an outsider king. Thebes, once an ally of Philip during Greece's internal struggles, began to perceive him as a direct challenge to its own regional supremacy, following the dramatic rise of the Macedonian forces. Athens, swayed by Demosthenes, saw Philip's rise as the potential demise of its democracy and autonomy, prompting the city to spurn Macedonian designs. Though Philip had built an impressive military and political stature, his kingdom still grappled with critical vulnerability. He lacked a legitimate successor to secure the future and continuity of his dynasty. Conscious of this weakness, Philip knew he needed to address it urgently. With Olympias as his new bride, a youthful princess from the neighboring realm of Epirus, famed for her captivating beauty, fierce temperament, and profound engagement in mysterious religious rites, he resolved to fulfill this duty. Olympias was no common figure. She possessed a commanding and enigmatic aura that both enthralled and unnerved the Macedonian court. Some regarded her as a priestess conducting arcane ceremonies with serpents, while others saw her as a being of near mythical might. Philip, alongside Olympias, now bore the essential task of producing a worthy heir who could uphold all he had created, someone able to not only preserve but also extend Macedonian prestige and dominance across the known world. Little did Philip suspect that this union would yield a son who would exceed all his grandest aspirations.